Hey guys, it's Daniel Faust and Learn and Live. We are in today in the Superhero Sanctum again this week with Amanda Huffman. Went from former airman to mom and now author, podcaster, blogger. She does like everything on the planet. Has two kids at home, one doing online school, the other one's a little younger. It's just a crazy life. I'm shocked your hair is not as short as mine, but anyway. So we're going to jump into her story, and she's going to tell you her war story, and we're going to jump in how to get healing through volunteering. So we'll let her take it away.
Yes, I'm an Air Force veteran and military spouse, and I served in the Air Force for 6 years, which included a deployment to Afghanistan, where I was deployed with the Army doing combat missions as we were going outside the wire to help reconstruct Afghanistan. So we were building roads, schools. Well, we weren't, the Afghan people were, but we were the mentors or the engineers who guided and inspected everything. Mm-hmm. And then I left the Air Force right after I had my first son, who is now, he'll be 7 in June. So
wow.
My husband and I were dual military for 6 years.
We might have lost connection with you. You might need to give that a minute. Guys, if you're watching, we're interviewing Amanda Huffman, and she's telling us her war hero story. So you hear it in the background. We kind of stalled out.
Sorry, my internet freaked out. Can you hear me?
Yep, looks like you're back alive. Mm-hmm.
I guess didn't care.
Oops. There you go. You're good now.
Okay. So I got pregnant, and my husband and I decided to make a list on reasons I should stay in the Air Force and reasons I should get out. And the list to get out was really long because being dual military was really challenging with all the TDYs and deployments and all the stuff that was going on. And so when he was born, I decided to get out of the Air Force, and I got out when he was 4 months old. And then I became a mom, and that was really a challenge to go from working to staying at home and being a military spouse. My husband actually was gone for 2 months when my son was 2 months to 4 months old, and I got a real dose of reality of what military spouses go through with having to take care of a little baby all by myself. And so I really struggled in my transition. I lost my identity, and it was through blogging that I met people who helped support me and push me to where I am today.
That's really awesome. So you had some healing, you got some identity back, and today we're going to address your SHME skills, subject matter expert skills, on the sense healing through volunteering. So my first question for you is, healing from trials and crisis come in many different ways. What did you do for healing outside of blogging? Was that your main thing, or was there other things that were attached to it?
So blogging was part of it. It was part of what I started to focus on to be able to start telling my story and to move past things that I had dealt with. But my real healing came through going through a program called Celebrate Recovery, where it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, or Al-Anon is like the equivalent in the non-spiritual terms. And so I went through that program, and I went through the 12 steps, and the last step is to give back. And through going through the 12 steps and then starting to give back to my community, I was able to find healing, which is part of, volunteering and giving back.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm familiar with Celebrate Recovery, and if our audience is not familiar with Celebrate Recovery, it basically meets every week, and they have certain groups for certain things. Like if you're in controlling or anger or codependency or whatever it is, it's basically mental health, emotional / spiritual healing. And then you're going through the steps individually and also corporately. Churches and nonprofits go lead Celebrate Recovery across the nation. So if you guys are interested, you can go just Google Celebrate Recovery. It's nationwide. Yep. So with that, you mentioned volunteering as a way of healing, but why is volunteering a healing process in that regard?
I think because you're able to find yourself in a way that you selflessly give of yourself. And one of the coolest volunteer things that I got to do is help mentor airmen who are looking to join the military. And through helping them, I'm learning, which I love learning because I learn like what they need to know and what questions they have. And so sometimes I have to do research, and it feels like I'm helping her, but really she was helping me because I was able to give back to her, and I was able to give her advice when she needed it, and that kind of made me feel like I had value and importance like I did when I was in the military. And so I think when you're volunteering, you're like giving of yourself in such a selfless way. And then if you're in like a leadership role as a volunteer, or even just mentoring one person, you're able to give back in such a way that you can't really find that in just the normal everyday way. I don't know how to explain it, but that's I haven't found anything like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it gives you purpose and belonging back, because the Air Force automatically gives you purpose and belongingness no matter what. And then once you leave, like when I left and after 12 years, a month later, I go call and they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I trained you." I'm like, "You don't exist without me." And they totally forgot about my purpose. They totally forgot about me belonging. They didn't even remember my name. And I'm like, "You wouldn't even know how to use the phone right now."
Right.
But yeah, you can lose that very quickly. So it sounds like the volunteering gave you that sense of purpose and sense of belonging, because you're, in a sense, that person is looking for you. So it gives you that belonging, but it also gives you a sense of purpose that there's more than just you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's really cool. So if you can share one of the stories about your transformative healing through volunteering, like was it a specific person? Was it a set time? Was it a set group of people? I know you shared about that one female and whatnot, but do you have any more in-depth story about that?
I have her, and then I also mentored another lady who is in her transition process. She's going to be getting out this summer, and she found my blog when she was deployed, and she was a mom as well, but she was still in the service, and she found a lot of connection and healing through my writing because she was really afraid about the transition. She didn't know if she wanted to, but she knew that it wasn't really working. She was deployed. She left behind a 1-year-old, and her husband was in the Air Force, and they just had a lot of challenges with being dual military and having kids. And through reading my stories, she was kind of able to let go of she felt a lot of shame about not serving for 20 years. Like she needed to serve 20 years or she hadn't done enough, which is kind of crazy, or it is crazy. It's not kind of crazy that, so many people don't serve at all. And then the people who do serve think, oh, I didn't do enough because I only served X amount of years. And so it was through reading my blogs and emailing back and forth that I was able to talk to her and help her get rid of that shame. And so she could start transitioning, even though she hasn't technically transitioned out, she's starting to make waves of transitioning and to get farther along. It took me a long time because I dealt with that shame of only serving 6 years and that's not enough. You're supposed to do 20, but it wasn't the right choice for me to do that.
Yeah, I remember myself, I got to 12 years and then because of an AFSC, I went into mental health and they you don't get this job. And I'm like, I don't get this job in a long time. And then they sent me home and they tried to make me back comm troop. And when I first got out, it's you don't know who you are and you're just trying to go figure out. And even though I had a calling for my life, it's been refined since then. And this is part of it. But even then you're how do you get up in the morning? How do you go over and thrive? And I'm and I didn't put the full throttle when I got out. So that's huge. And they still tell you, when you get out, it's you're at 12 years. Why didn't you go get 20? Why didn't you get 20? I'm it's called a 2X reenlistment code. So unless you are a 4-star general and can fix that, yeah. But also bigger picture, I couldn't serve in this capacity now that I know. 8 years removed from that. I couldn't go over and do these things for these people. I couldn't go and invite them in there. I wouldn't have had an opportunity to get a TV show to help you military veterans and first responders transform your lives and then empower people like you to women that need you in that particular regard. But at first, when you get out, you're what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I'm they asked me that at 12 and I have no idea and I don't know now. And you're 30 years old and we're still figuring that out. Most Americans don't understand the average American shifts their job 9 times. Right. The kicker of it is the military person might move duty stations and whatnot, but we had an AFSC or an MOS and that's what we were doing. It was like nutbag day, and you just go to nutbag day until it's over.
Right.
So for us, it's a culture shock. So yeah, I totally see where you're coming from in that regard. So when you're helping these people and you're volunteering, and let's say someone's wanting to go through this process, they're like, all right, I'm interested in going over and doing volunteering. How do they start the process, and where should they go to do this?
So I think that you should find something that you're passionate about and see if there's something that you can get involved in. You don't have to do anything like huge. I think sometimes we get stuck because we're like, oh, I need to do something. It needs to be grandiose and it needs to like change 1,000 people's lives. But really, if you're helping one person, then that one person can help another person and then they can help. And it just like is a ripple effect of change. And so I think you just need to find what you're passionate about and then start doing it. And also don't let the imposter syndrome or like I'm not good enough stop you from mentoring and helping someone. I for a long time was like, I can't be a mentor on, I don't know if you've heard of Veterati, because I was like, I don't have anything to offer. I can't mentor someone. And then it was like, oh, actually I can. And I think sometimes we get in that, like, I don't have anything to offer. But if you served in the military, you already have something to offer. And, like, as life happens, you have more and more experiences to give from.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've heard a briefing or heard a resource or whatever, and it wasn't important to you until you're, volunteering, and now you can say, oh, I have this information. Like, there's so many organizations that I've known, people go back and they start writing down exactly what I do. And it is the same thing in the training world. And I'm like, I'm really not that smart. I just replicated what somebody else told me. And this little noodle with God's blessing remembered it. That's all it was. And that's all it is when you're doing that, is you're mentoring. You're just saying, hey, I did one thing more than you did, and you were unaware of it. And now you're aware of it.
Yeah.
So with that, do you know any particular programs that you would recommend or organizations that facilitate this type of healing through volunteering? And is there any books that you've read on or maybe you wrote that help with this?
I mean, I mentioned Veterati. I really like it. It's an online platform that's free that helps connect military spouses and veterans with mentors. So you can get free hour of mentorship from various people. You just go and you find their calendar and it has an algorithm to help connect you. And I think that's a great program because it's free. I like free, but it's a great program to connect with other people and like network. And I also think, I'm trying to think, I've read a lot of books written by women veterans, which I found a lot of healing in hearing the stories of other veterans. I mean, that's also why I have a podcast where I interview women veterans. But I think if you can connect with like people who are in either a similar sphere or a similar like career field or just being a veteran, I think that is a great way to get connected and to start the healing process, because you can hear their stories and then you don't feel so alone. And then you can maybe step forward and share your story.
Yeah, and that's huge on doing that, is sharing the story, because everybody thinks that they're alone. I'll just give a quick example. My son's struggling in online school and he's like, I think I'm all by myself. I'm all alone. I said, I failed 13 colleges. I know the struggle. Done it online, does it residential and everything else. I'm like, and 7% of people actually get done these distance learning courses. Unless it's $2,000 or above, there is plenty of people that have gone through this transition of these types of things and have failed. So we're not alone in this particular regard. So don't think that you're alone. So we ask every superhero in these questions is 3 superhero tactics. So if you had to visit yourself again, like when you were getting out of the service, or if you had a young woman that you were mentoring, what superhero tactics would you give them to go over and to thrive through this transition and have this transformational healing?
The first thing is to get involved in the veteran community. For me, for a long time, I like ran away from the veteran community. I was like, yeah, I'm a veteran. I'll stand up and raise my hand when they tell me. Like, I still self-identified, but besides that, I didn't want anything to do with like the veteran community. But through getting involved with the veteran community, I found it to be a really healing place and a really it's like that community that you had in the military. You can find that not exactly the same. It's actually better in the veteran community than when you were active duty, because you all have your own stuff going on in your lives, but you can connect and you have that military connection. So the first thing would be to get connected with the veteran community. And then the second thing is, I have my degree in civil engineering, and now I'm like a podcaster, writer, all these things like don't really make sense with a civil engineering degree. But I think you don't need to be tied down to what your degree in college was, or your AFSC or MOS, whatever they call it for the different branches.
You got them all.
But if you were a medic and then you want to do, like, I don't know, be a speaker, or if you want to, like, you don't have to be tied down to like what your technical job was or what your degree is. You can do anything you want to, and you can use the skills that you've gained from your job in the military or your degree that you get online or in person, and you can use those to do whatever you want. And so I think sometimes we put ourselves in a box. And so I started writing just because I was a stay-at-home mom and I needed something, and then it led to like figuring out what I actually wanted. But I didn't want to be a civil engineer, which is why I didn't go to work when I got out of the military. But I felt for a long time like, what's wrong with you? Like, you have an engineering degree, you should be. But that really, I wouldn't be happy like I am now if I had just stuck with like what kind of made sense, and like if you were thinking about it. And then the third thing I would say is to make your family a priority. I think a lot of the decision of why I started a business that I could work from home is so that I could make my family a priority. And I think that it's so important that we spend time with our families and make our families a priority. So those would be the 3 things that I would tell myself when I got out.
That's awesome. So if you want to connect with Amanda, here's her website, airmantomom.com. I copied it this time because yesterday the audience said I did it wrong, so I corrected myself. So if you like this interview and you like Amanda to get up to the next level in our interviews, we elevate this to our TV show, War Hero to Superhero. So this is transforming military veterans and first responders from the bedroom to the boardroom. If you love Amanda's interview, you want to get on the show, all you have to do is dedicate 3 seconds of your life. That's it. That gets a view on Facebook, gets a view on YouTube, gets a view on Periscope or on our page. If she gets the most views within 72 hours from the airing of this episode, then she goes over and she uplifts to War Hero Superhero, and then gets broadcast through 15 distribution points. So that's all you have to do. So even if you don't have to watch all 18 minutes, which we prefer you do, but if you can't and you only can handle 3 seconds because you're too busy with handling 12 kids in your arms or whatever's going on, go over and just give 3 seconds, pop in, listen in the background, and then glean off later. Any questions and comments, we will be answering there. So if you're watching this on the replay, I will answer what I can. Then I'm going to tag Amanda. If I don't, I'm not going to be a mom. So I mean, I have a wife. That's for a reason. She's a mom. So thank you for your time and attention. Thank you, Amanda, for going over and joining us. Any parting shots before we go?
Well, I like to say to everyone who's on my podcast that your story matters. It doesn't matter what your story is. It has value and it's important. So be brave and go out and share it.
Awesome. So either connect with Amanda or connect with us so we can get you connected to Amanda to share that story. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.